G'day Marvel Future Fight Gamers, VaderG here. This will be my last vid on the Warriors of the Sky V570 Prebuild. I could keep on making videos and videos and videos of World Boss Ultimate with the Warriors of the Sky, Giant Boss Raids, all these different things and different content and alliance battle type things, but I had a bit of a think about it, and I thought I've probably pretty well made my judgment on this update already. I had a fair bit of a crack at World Boss Ultimate yesterday with the Warriors of the Sky characters. Had a quick play with Sharon Rogers with new uniform. Did a giant boss raid against Galactus with Crescent. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good position to give a reasonably accurate gauge on where this update's at. So I think we just roll through that, and I might do a bit of, there might be some gameplay going on in the background, and what I might do is I might talk for the first part of this video, and then just the end bit of the video, because it might end up being quite long, will just be bits of gameplay, right? I'll just put on the screen, put some music on, and if you feel like watching it, you can. If not, just wait for the update and play for yourselves. Okay. So first of all, let's have a look at what's been introduced, and I'll give them a rating out of 10, right, each of these things. So we've got a new story mode, and I think this is absolutely awesome. So the new story mode, I've only played a couple of sections of it, but the plot is very good. The way that the story unfolds is quite nice. It's pretty hard. There's nothing easy about it. It's quite challenging. It reminds you, it takes you back and reminds you of what it was like to first play the game, which for me was a long time ago, so 4.5 years ago. That's a long time, right? And it sort of brought back some pretty cool memories of me falling in love with Marvel Future Fight for the first time, and I really appreciated that. The graphics are supreme. And of course, there's a story completion chest, which I'm not going to go through this in this update, which has some pretty cool stuff in it. And I don't know what these drop rates are of getting some of these good cards or good CTPs or anything like that, but it's there, and some of us are going to get lucky, and it could be you. So, but either way, I think that that's a really cool thing. It's going to bring in more players to the game, which in itself is a really cool thing, right? Because that's what we want. We want more people coming through the game. So for the story content, for the new story mode, giving it a 10 out of 10. I think it's excellent. It's a fantastic. They've done a fantastic job on it, right? Okay, so let's have a chat about the free uniforms that actually come with the story mode. And I did a bit of a skill preview review of these uniforms in my prior videos. Now, none of these uniforms are going to be better than their endgame uniforms. So the Iron Man endgame uniform, Cap America endgame uniform, and Black Widow endgame, or even Black Widow Infinity War. So none of these unis are going to be better than that. But once again, for brand new players to the game, they're going to get some pretty epic unis for free, right? And the look of these uniforms, the look of the uniforms alone makes me want to equip them to my characters, particularly the Iron Man one. I just love this uniform. I think it is so cool. So visually excellent designs, but I think really ultimately these are designed for people who play through the story mode for the first time, right? And they go, well, holy smokes, have a look at these uniforms we get for free, get people into the game. Once again, I'm giving the new uniforms a ranking of 10 out of 10, not for power, not because they're better than the endgame uniforms, but just because there's been a fair bit of thought put into the uniforms. Visually, they're stunning, and if I was a free player and ended up with these uniforms, I'd be extremely happy. So I'm putting myself in free player, in a new player's seat, so to speak, or in their shoes, and basically I'm saying, well, I'm getting some epic uniforms for nothing. They look fantastic, and really for visual effects alone, these uniforms should be given a 10 out of 10. My opinion, of course. Okay, so the next thing we'll talk about is the changes to the dimension missions and the biometrics drops, which I'll show a few of these in the background as we go along. So obviously with the with this side of things here, with getting support heroes in the actual dimension missions, once again, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. Right, so well done to Netmarble for listening to the player base. I think they've done a really good job. Never expected Netmarble to give away premium character biometrics. Having said that, I've run this 2 days in a row. I haven't seen any drop. So the drop rate is probably, incredibly rare. Having said that, they're still there. And the best thing for us is we're getting biometrics for running dimension missions. We used to get biometrics for running rifts, and that was taken away with the introduction of dimension missions. So it's really nice to see them being brought back into the game, the biometric drops through dimension missions, and certainly makes it much more worthwhile running the dimension missions in general. 10 out of 10 again for this, and 10 out of 10 for Netmarble for listening to the player base, right? So even though it's taken a little bit of time, but they've listened to the player base, they've reacted, done an excellent job. Well done. Okay, Sharon Rogers' new uniform. I did a review on this a couple of videos ago, so if you really want to see sort of something where you see what skills have changed and the rest of it, then go and have a look at that video. But ultimately, visually excellent. I like this uniform. Visually, it looks way better than the other uniforms, in my opinion. Not only that, it's a massive upgrade to her as a character. She does insane damage in Giant Boss Raid, insane damage in World Boss Ultimate. If you have Sharon Rogers at any type of level, and if you have her at tier 3, 100% you need this uniform. You need to buy it when it comes out, right? But even for players who have the Dark Knight armor and kind of, is that what it's called? Dark Star. Yeah, Dark Star armor, then I would probably, I'm going to buy this uniform when it comes out. I don't even use Sharon Rogers very much. I don't even have her at tier 3. But when this uniform drops, I'm going to get it, because there's that big of an upgrade to a character that's already OP. The only downside I see with this uniform is, I sort of think about it and sort of think, well, did she really need a uniform? No, she was already OP. So I can't help feeling that the developers potentially could have spent their time a bit better on other uniforms, potentially like a Doctor Doom uniform to bring him back into the meta as a native tier 2, or even some of the really OG characters like Ghost Rider, Daredevil, any of these other units which are basically garbage at this point in time. So 10 out of 10 for the actual uniform and the uniform effects and the visual look. Probably, if I'm going to say overall, like if I step back and say, well, okay, the Sharon Rogers uniform, we didn't need it, right? And so as a result, I'm giving Netmarble a 7 out of 10, and that's really just for the choosing to focus on this uniform rather than other game content. Okay, let's get on to Crescent Tier 3. So I did quite a comprehensive review of Crescent Tier 3 in the Alliance Battle video. I've actually sent some Netmarbles and some some emails to Netmarble and some correspondence to Netmarble, basically saying that I still think this character needs a significant buff. Even with the tier 3, I really feel like she's quite weak. I sort of feel like her second skill is a total waste, because it's got the 4 seconds for damage accumulation. Been having a chat with a couple of the other guys in AMV1 after they looked at my Alliance Battle video for Crescent, and they said the same thing. They said, well, okay, this second skill for Crescent with a 4-second accumulation period, there's no point in that. You can't transfer that damage increase to any other skills. You can't transfer it to the tier 3 skill. And if you go through the good characters in the game, like Sharon Rogers, Captain America, these sort of characters, they all have 10-second damage accumulation. So they can accumulate damage and then use that damage they've accumulated for 10 seconds. Crescent has 4 seconds. It's doing nothing. I'm telling you, you're not getting any value out of that. So if Netmarble want to make an easy buff to this character, who right at this moment is a very mediocre tier 3 in my opinion, pretty well all I need to do is increase that damage accumulation on the second skill to 10 seconds, and I think you'll find that Crescent will be doing some reasonable damage, and she won't be overpowered as a result of that, but she'll certainly be a lot better than what she is right now. So right at this point in time, if I was to give Crescent a rating, tier 3 Crescent as a rating out of 10, I would probably give her a 3 out of 10. She does okay against Proxima in World Boss Ultimate, but any combat character at tier 3 does that with a CTP of Rage or a good CTP equipped. She does okay in Giant Boss Raid, but really, do we need that? Is that the sort of thing that you want a tier 3 character for to do Giant Boss Raid? Personally, I don't. I don't think she's going to be too good in PvP, but maybe she is. We have no way of testing that in the server. But based on what I've seen and what I've been able to actually look at, I would give Crescent Tier 3 a 3 out of 10. Now, it could be easily fixed and increased to a 10 out of 10 or an 8 or 9 out of 10 by just extending that accumulation period on the second skill to 10 seconds. Let's wait and see if that happens before the update. I really hope that it does, because right now, probably she's a character that you'd pass on Tier 3. Alright, so just my opinion, guys, and you know, things can change between now and when the update drops. That's what I'm saying. But right at this point in time, 3 out of 10. Okay, the new characters. So we've got White Tiger here, and then we've got Blue Dragon, Shadow Shell, and Sunbird. Now, I'm not going to go through and rank each of these characters individually. I really think that you guys can do that yourselves when you unlock them, if you unlock them. I played around with them yesterday in World Boss Ultimate a bit. Well, when I say a bit, for a couple of hours, to be perfectly honest. And they're all really solid. None of them are probably outstanding, I don't think. I don't know if I should probably say that, but I don't think there's like any Psylocke level characters for World Boss Ultimate in there. I don't think any of these characters are going to have too much to do with any ABX type stuff or PvP content. Well, potentially I shouldn't say that, because we can't test PvP content. My gut feel is potentially not for PvP either. So I think at this stage, I think they've done an excellent job of creating a character group that has excellent synergy with Blue Dragon's leadership, Sunbird's revive, Shadow Shell's all defense, to all of the Warriors of the Sky team. But I think at this point in time, I'd categorize them as potentially Shadowland or World Boss Ultimate characters, and it's really up to you if you want to build up more of those type of characters. I tried all of them in World Boss Ultimate with CTP of Judgment. Obviously, I didn't put Judgment on White Tiger, of course, because he has no elemental damage, and also tried against the CTP of Rage. I can say for these three that are on screen, there was very little difference between a CTP of Rage and a CTP of Judgment, but in saying that, they really have no dodge, they have no crit rate. I've just left everything native. All I did on these characters was actually just have a, was basically just build up their Euro. I put no attack Euro on them at all. I just made sure that they were maxed on ignore, defense, and skill cooldown through adding some Euro there. Okay, the Sky Kieran 6 skill. Let's have a bit of a chat about that. So, the Sky Kieran 6 skill, one thing that we've got to remember is in this server version that we have, the skill level of the 6 skill is level 1 only, right? Now you can awaken the 6 skill. Well, I can actually do that. So we might do that. Oh, and it's going to take super long to do that, and probably I could get it up to the next level again if I did more World Boss Ultimate today, because those stones, I mean, that's a couple of days worth of stones there. So what, 35 stones in awakening stones in 2 days, so you're probably going to get maybe 20 a day. But at level 1, the actual 6 skill does not do much damage at all. Visually it's excellent, but it's, at level 1, all I can say is that level 1 is definitely not a game changer. I personally, so it may be at level 6 or level 5 or whatever it goes up to, the Sky Kieran 6 skill, maybe it becomes way more powerful, right? But at level 1 it doesn't do much damage, even under damage proc. When you get a proc on it, it doesn't really do much. And maybe I'm saying that because we're used to actually looking at characters and pressing the 6 skill, which is normally a tier 3 skill, and doing bonkers damage. You don't get that effect with the Sky Kieran skill, particularly at level 1. I shouldn't comment on this too much, right, because I haven't tried it out at max level. But yeah, visually it looks really cool, but not a game changer insofar as damage delivered at level 1 skill. From a personal level, I don't think the Sky Kieran skill lives up to its hype. I was actually expecting, to be honest, I had something in my mind that didn't kind of pan out to be correct. I thought that we would actually see the dragon being summoned properly onto the battlefield. So the dragon comes in, draws aggro, breathes fire, and does whatever it needs to do at the enemy. Kind of like IO with Crescent and IO. That's what I had in my mind going into the update. And to see that it's an extra skill, I think it makes a lot of sense to actually have it as an extra skill, particularly given that it's like a synergy type skill between the team. But to me, I had one thing in my mind, and it turned out to be another. I'm not going to rank each of the individual characters, except to say that for me, the two free-to-play units, White Tiger and Shadow Shell, they were my favourites amongst the four. So, I found, to be honest, I found Blue Dragon to be reasonably low on damage, so lacking a bit of power for a Crystal Wall type character. So yeah, it's pretty, and a Sunbird I didn't play around with a huge amount. It seems like he has a lot of potential, but his skills are a bit tricky to chain together. So I'm not going to rank these individually. I don't think that's fair at this point in time to do that. And ultimately, it's nice to have stuff in an update for the player base to sort of say, well, we want to make our own call. And I think for ranking the Warriors of the Sky in regards to damage and playability, that's exactly what we probably should do here. So for the Warriors of the Sky overall, so I'm talking, visually, 10 out of 10, perfect, looks amazing. Gameplay, the Sky Kieran skill, probably going to give that around about a 7 out of 10. There's nothing, I can't see anything that's epic for me out of any of them. There'll be characters that are really nice to have, but I don't think that they're must-haves at this point in time. Could be totally wrong. It could be a matter where you get the team that's on screen here together, set them up for PvP and enter them into the Alliance tournament, even at level 70, and maybe they could smash everyone to pieces just due to their team synergy and potentially due to the Sky Kieran skill. But my gut tells me that's not going to be the case. So guys, hopefully this Star Agent, my Star Agent series of videos for 570 Prebuild has been useful. Hopefully I've been able to get some useful feedback through to Netmarble, and we'll keep on playing a few, you're not going to listen to me, bang on anymore voice-wise. We'll play a few videos in the background, and you can keep on watching or just switch off or do whatever you want to do, right? It's your time. You do what you want to do with it. And thanks very much for watching my videos through this series and through the pre-build. I appreciate all the support. And if you guys could like, and if you're not subscribed, subscribe. That it all helps. All right, guys. Thanks.